As things come into view, a man and a woman are on the other side of the street. It's inaudible, you can't hear what they're saying as they talk in the evening lantern lights that illuminate the street. They both are smiling as they flirtatiously say their goodbyes, and then they kiss. Their ages appear to be mid-20s. The man goes his separate way after seeing the woman enter into her abode, and he begins to walk down the cobblestone street. It begins to rain, and we see our gentleman hike up his coat collar, tuck his hat down to try to shield himself as much as he can from the rain. And he gets underneath the bridge that crosses overhead. And as he does so, it's a stone bridge, but as he does so, he's relieved as the rain is finally done dripping on him. But at about midway, another drop falls from the ceiling onto the brim of his hat, causing him to stop for a minute. And he touches the brim of his hat. And as he does so, the consistency doesn't quite feel right. It's thick. Another drop catches the corner of his hat and the tips of his fingers, coating the tops of his fingernails. He looks up to see a toothy smile and eyes of white illuminated in the dark. And the picture fades. And that's where you come in. The game is Candela Obscura. We're going to be taking a break for a moment from our other focuses of D&D, just to kind of give you an idea of another game that you could play. So, Candela is very horror themed as opposed to D&D that is more fantasy themed. So, Candela takes place at the turn of the century in a different realm. So the year would be about 1907. That being said, there are other differences as well, but it is a crime-solving game that focuses more on the role-playing than on trying to beat the game, if that makes sense. And we can get more into that here in just a minute, but I want to focus on how the game is played, the classes that are available, and then we can go from there. So the game is played with a GM, a game master, and anywhere from 4 to 6 players. That being said, you can play it usually in about 3 to 5 sessions, and it's played in 3 to 5 sessions to accelerate the gameplay and to be a shorter game that you can play as opposed to some of your longer games that take multiple sessions and multiple years. This makes it fun because you can alternate who you play with and change things up as you go and have an opportunity for somebody else to manage a game that hasn't managed a game before. And it opens up a few different roles, and it lets you step outside of your comfort zone. Now, you do have to remember, with it being a horror game, and if you're the game master, manage the game in a way that will not be traumatic and cause triggers, because that's not why we're here. We're here to have fun and enjoy the game. And as a group, we are working together to tell an amazing story with the dice kind of leading the way. That being said, you use d6s, nothing but d6s, and there's 9. 3 of them are gilded, and the other 6 are regular dice. Your 3 gilded dice would just be a different color than your regular dice. That is so you can differentiate them whenever you're rolling. How to determine successes and failures is pretty simple. A 1 to a 3 is a failure. A 4 to a 5 is a mixed success. And a 6 is an automatic success. There are 5 different classes broken down into subclasses. The first one being a face, which you could be a journalist or a magician. The next being a muscle, being a soldier or an explorer, followed by a scholar, in which you could be a doctor or a professor. Next would be slink, which you could be a detective or a criminal. Followed by the last class, which is weird, which is an occultist or a medium. Now, each class gets their own special feats, which in this case would be considered action ratings and drives. So, if you're a journalist, you would get 1 read, 2 survey, 1 focus, and 1 sense. All these things are used to play the game and to make different moves to help further your character. One interesting thing about Candela is each subclass has their own character sheet. So if you're playing a medium, your sheet will look different than that of a soldier. And it will have your different features on it. And you pick your role abilities by choosing one of your specialties during character creation, and then you also choose one of your special abilities at character creation. To determine drives, you start with 3 points in a drive, which are already determined by your role and specialty. For example, a doctor would get 3 intuition drives. You can spend those drives to use gilded dice to enhance your opportunity for success. Now, in order to get a drive back, you have to take the points from a gilded dice. So sometimes, in order to get a gilded dice back, you will take a lower roll as opposed to a success. You may have a 6 on a regular dice, but you may have a 3 on a gilded dice, but you want to get your gilded back, so you take the 3 and take the failure. You also have resistances. Resistances are determined by your maximum amount of drives, not what you have left. So you would fill in your resistances based off of what you have for your drive. Drives are actually a way to increase your chance in succeeding in something. So you may spend a drive to add an additional dice to your roll. Gilded actions is where you use your gilded dice. This is where you can gain an advantage in something in order to make it even more successful. If you were a soldier, your gilded action would be a strike. Gilded action is where you earn your drives back. So it's best to pick something that's going to help you earn back points in something that you use a lot of. That's why if you're a soldier and you use strike, you're going to want to make sure that you earn those back through that. You're going to want to make sure that you use the gilded action in something that you're going to use other than strike, because being a soldier, you'll use strike often, but you'll also use your intuition or your nerve as well. So you want to build those back up. Lastly, your damage is done through marks. Each of these 3 marks, you get 3 boxes to fill in. So you have body, you have brain, and you have bleed. Bleed is the magical effects that you get through handling things from the flare. Anything that is not of this world, so to speak. And we'll get more into that right here as we begin to close this video out. So once you fill in 3 of those boxes, say you fill in 3 bodies, you take a scar. that changes how your character reacts. When you take a scar, you shift one of your action ratings from one box to another. So, say you're a soldier and you rely more on your nerve and your intuition, maybe you shift one of those to a cunning role. You're able to read people better now because of what you've been through. Candela is a very exciting game. It's different in the fact that you're not trying to build up all these different levels and everything like that. And it's very much a teamwork between you and the GM to get you to the end. The GM plays a role called a light keeper that helps you along the way. They're like your Q to your 007, so to speak. And with that, you guys are working more as a group than the individuality side of things that you get with, say, Dungeons and Dragons, where you're trying to level your character up while being a part of this party. You're trying to get everybody to the end to successfully complete your mission. And that's where the fun really comes in, because it's very much more focused on the role play as opposed to other parts of a game. And some people say it's a challenge to play this game because of that, because it's so role-playing focused. But if you go into it with the right mindset and a willingness to learn, this game can be a lot of fun. We covered just a few basics here. Stay with us as we explore more of the Candela game, as well as all the other different types of tabletop role-playing games that we look to discuss right here on Paladin's Maledict.